welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts. How are you, Mandy?
Doing so good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Back in the saddle after the New Year's, reluctantly. I didn't want to be.
I know. I know. But I think that we did a good job of planning for the beginning of this year. And, you still got to
Yeah.
get yourself all the way through that first week, which today is the last day of, luckily.
Yep.
But I think that we did a good job of planning what we're going to do this year, planning what we're not going to do this year. And it feels
Yeah.
like a good start. Like, I think I'm the most planned that I've been since corporate, probably. But this time I'm
Yeah.
worried
I
about personal too, you know?
think that you're right. And I think we even did a really good job of planning how to be able to be present in our personal life through the holidays and all the
Hmm.
things. So coming back is a little more difficult because we got to be away.
Yeah. Hmm.
That makes
But it's good.
sense.
You gotta have the separation sometimes.
It is really good.
Absolutely.
Happy to be back in the saddle and
Mhm.
excited about all the things that are to come.
Mhm.
And one of them is the Become conference in
I
March.
know. I know. I'm
Super cool.
excited. And actually, we need to get you your plane tickets soon. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
think about it every time we talk about it. I'm like, I should probably get that
yeah.
booked.
Yeah, we need to do that like today just to make sure that we're all good. But I am excited about Become. Obviously, I go every year. I am mostly excited to bring you to Become for the first time because it's been several years since you've done a women's conference, right? And you know how
Yeah. And I
just
love
invigorating it
that
is.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anybody who is looking
Mhm.
for a women's conference early this year, the Become conference is amazing. We have talked about it a lot because it's incredible, but there's keynote speakers, there's breakouts where you can really dig in and learn stuff. There's so much networking with other women who are either working for a business or they own a business or they own several businesses. So many inspiring people to talk to and to make connections with because you never know when you're going to need to do your next big leap and you never know who can help you. And if you're a woman in business for yourself, you never know who might be that great referral partner to give you more business. So the Become conference is March 12th and 13th. It's a kind of evening and then all day thing. And we're pumped to be on the panel of marketers that will be that in itself would pay for it. I think if you're looking to figure out some marketing, be able to ask every single one of your burning marketing questions. Yeah, there's so much to learn. So we will put all the information, how to register, and just more information about this in the show notes. So we hope that you'll come and join us in St. Louis, March 12th and 13th for the Become conference. And yeah, I'm excited.
I am very excited. I cannot wait. I also cannot wait to talk to our special guest today. We are so thrilled to have Joy Peterson on the call with us. Great friend, but also super dynamic and incredible individual. So I think it's going to be so fun.
Yeah, and you have to listen in to hear the crazy, ridiculous thing that ultimately made her go back to work, because that's a funny story.
I love talking to people who have walked a similar path as us, but maybe made different choices and did it better than we did, had an exit strategy in a way that was healthy and fulfilling and got her exactly where she wanted to be. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to share this conversation.
Yes. All right. So let's bring in Joy.
All right. Welcome, Joy. Thanks for being on with us today.
Hi, I'm
Yes.
happy to be here.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. We've been wanting to do this for a long time. I want to introduce everyone to you, Joy. So, Joy started working in the service and hospitality industry at 15 and remained there for 22 years. The experience taught her compassion, patience, and resilience, as well as practical life and business skills like budgeting, financials, and planning. Although she loved the industry, its demands took over her life, and in 2020, she knew it was time for a change. She joined Contemporary Productions in 2021 as an administrative assistant and is now an executive assistant. But in the meantime, she took a little bit of a break, and that's what we want to talk about today. Welcome to the podcast, Joy Peterson.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
We'd like to get started and have you just tell your story about kind of where you came from and what your job leading up to COVID looked like, and
Yeah,
and then what that break was about and where you are now.
yeah. So I guess I'll take it back to whenever we moved to St. Louis in 2010. And then
Mhm.
I got a job with a brand new restaurant downtown St. Louis called 360. I started there just server, bartender, working. I really liked it. It was really busy. And the owner of that restaurant is a major hospitality company here in St. Louis. So they own like 20 plus hotels. They own a bunch of restaurants. They own Union Station. And whenever I started there, I was just serving, I was bartending, I became a trainer there. And then
Mhm.
they started opening new restaurants throughout the area. And so then I became one of their corporate or opening trainers for brand new restaurants and brand new concepts. So these weren't like chain restaurants where it was, I had a cookie cutter to go off of. Like,
Mhm.
this is how this is, this is how this is. So I would go open these new restaurants and, you kind of work from the ground up. You're watching them build the actual site for the brand new
Mhm.
restaurants, the brand new
Yeah.
concepts. So I was involved in, development of all these concepts and how everything was going to be done and the menus. And then, so I would go and do that, but then I would go back to the original restaurant that I was after I would get one open. And I
Mhm.
did that for a couple of years. And then it became really obvious that there needed to be a set position of a trainer that knows what's happening in all of these restaurants to go back and basically quality check, because information gets lost, new people come in, they don't know how
Mhm.
things are necessarily done. So I went to the president and owner of this company and I said, I pleaded my case. I was like, you need me to be in all of these restaurants at all times and opening these and whatever. And they took some time and they decided, yeah, this is a real thing. We need this position because they weren't really familiar with standalone restaurants. They have hotels. And I don't know
Mhm.
how familiar you are with hotels, but with each brand, you have to stick to a certain standard to keep that brand name. So it's
Mhm.
like they have Hiltons, they have Hyatts, and they have playbooks basically for what they have to do.
Yeah, they're
Anyway,
corporate, right? So they have,
yes, yes.
they have a standard.
Right. I went to that. And so, anyway, long story short, I became the director of restaurant training for this company. And I had 8 restaurants, I think, under me
Mhm.
that I went to. And I just rotated through at all times. I worked with, the management and the chefs in the kitchen and
Mhm.
the serving staff and just made sure everything was up to the standards that we had set for them. I wrote all the resources, all the training manuals, all the guides for every position in the restaurant. I was so busy. I loved it though. Like,
Mhm.
it was so much fun. Like, you're just going and I think to the sense of accomplishment that you have whenever you go back
Yep.
and like you go back and you see people and they're like so excited to tell you how well things went. And I think
Mhm.
too, what I really enjoyed is working with, the people that are in that grind day to day. I feel like so many times coming from the like service industry for sure, like, you know, the busboy's not always heard out or the hostess has an amazing idea, but it never gets anywhere. And I was able
Mhm.
to be a voice where it's like, you go in and a barback tells you like, hey, if we did something like this, and this, it would actually make way more sense. And I could take that to the very top and make the changes for these people. And I feel
Right.
like I loved that the most to be like, a liaison basically between these people
Mhm.
because it's not just falling on deaf ears. And I feel like that really helped morale. And so I really liked it. And I would start caring so much about all of the people that I worked with day to day and being able to like get things done for them and accomplish things to make their life better as well
Mhm.
so that they would be
Yeah.
happy coming into work.
Mhm.
Then fast forward and COVID hit.
Mhm.
And, I feel like the service and hospitality industry is something that before COVID was untouchable, right? Like people are always going to eat, people are always going to drink, people like
Mhm.
no matter what
And
happens,
COVID was the one thing that had the
the
power
one
to
thing
knock it all off
Mhm.
its
to shut it
rocker.
down, right? So whenever COVID hit, I actually didn't have any time off. I worked through it. So we basically closed all the restaurants to indoor service, but then started to go service basically at all of
Mhm.
them. So then
Yep.
it was implementing all of these like online ordering, like everything
Yep.
like that now is so easy and common. All the everybody has it now. DoorDash,
Mhm.
Postmates,
Yep.
all of them. But those were all brand new systems that we were then implementing. And then I was, being at the restaurants to be the to go girl,
Right.
like I
Yeah.
was doing because they're
Because
getting,
you have to figure out all the new systems.
right,
Mhm.
right.
They've
And you
never
can't be
done
like,
to-goes
oh, a
at that volume.
hostess.
Mhm.
Yes. And it's like a hostess, you can't throw her in without being trained, but we can't have her in any of the. So anyway,
Yeah.
I worked all through that. And then when everything started opening back up in, I guess it was like June of
Mhm.
2020, I don't even know what happened. Don't like
Yeah, it was a blur.
It
something in
was,
my
but you were
brain
yeah.
snapped. And I
Mhm.
woke up one day and I couldn't. I was like, I don't know what just happened, but like I was miserable. I can't even tell you the exact thing that happened. I can't tell you. I just knew like I am so tired. I am so exhausted. And I think so. One day I was like going in later to work. So I had like my morning to like, run a couple errands and take my time getting ready. And, usually I was at work from like 8 to 10 every day. And, and I
Mhm.
was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be at work till noon. And then somebody calls and there's an emergency and now I need to be there. I broke. Like
Mhm.
my husband works from home. I walked in his office and I've just got tears in my eyes. And I was
Oh.
like, I have to quit. And he was like, what? Like he was, I mean, also I'm not
Shocked
superly,
because he knows you loved
Yeah.
it.
and I'm not
Yeah.
superly overly emotional. And he's like, what
Yeah.
happened? And I was like, I have to go to work. And he was like, yeah.
Okay.
Like, he's
Yeah,
like,
every
right.
day.
He's like, Joy, you always have to go to work. You're always emailing. Like, you're always working. Like, and I was like, I cannot. I cannot. And he was like, okay. He's like, well, let's take some time and like think about it. And I was like, okay. And I went to work that day and I was like, there's no thinking about this. Like, I worked a couple more days until my husband and I had a little time together and we were just sitting on our patio and we were having a couple drinks. And I looked at him and I said, can I quit my job? And he was like, well, don't you? He's like, should we take some time, get your resume to? And I said, I can't. I said, I absolutely cannot. And he was like, okay. And I went to work the next day and I put in my notice. And I felt like whenever my husband Dan told me, yes, you can quit without anything, any backup,
Mhm.
any job,
Yeah.
I like the relief that I felt. I don't think that I ever felt so happy.
Yeah, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but here's the deal, you're like, "I don't know what happened." I know what happened. You were in full advanced burnout. That's what happened,
For
and
sure.
Because you don't
and
know that when it's happening,
You
but
do
looking
not.
back, you're like, "Oh, I was not well."
no,
For a
but
long time before it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you're just going and going and going, and you think that it's fun, but then like now looking back, it's like, I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't
Mhm.
even be like, hey, I can meet you tonight at 6 o'clock for a drink because there quite literally could be a dumpster fire, which I've
Yeah.
watched happen.
Yeah.
I've stood behind a restaurant where somebody threw ashes from a fireplace into the grease pit, and now all the dumpsters behind the building are on fire.
Are
And
on
I'm just
fire.
like, there's literally a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It's raging. It's going towards cars. And I'm just like,
You're like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's a
so
Tuesday, so."
Yes. Well, so this is really interesting because I mean, we've kind of been in and out of each other's lives for the last 20 some years at
yeah,
different times, too busy to make plans and whatnot.
yeah,
During COVID, almost everybody just kind of, got through it, the
mm-hmm,
lockdown of it all.
yeah,
You were working your life away during that time. We were
yeah,
at home, but we were doing the same thing from our,
Yes.
offices at home,
right,
trying to figure out I mean, you know how many freaking QR code menus we made during that time? And, we were all
right,
doing the same type of thing. It just you had to be boots on the ground. I would guarantee because I think I broke a little bit in June or possibly July. Like if
I
we
think
mm-hmm,
I
look
broke
back,
before that.
well, yeah, but what I mean is because you waited a while to leave corporate,
Yeah, I didn't
I
leave, but I was broken.
yes, we were all broken. That was I mean, COVID time in restaurants was the fucking worst. There's nothing worse.
Yeah.
But
so
I
bad.
if we looked back, because Mandy, remember that day I was driving somewhere, like just back from COVID. They're like, you got to go back to Iowa. And it's like, really, that's such a bad idea. But okay. So I'm in the car and we're like working through the name of my company, and you're designing it on Canva. Do you remember any of this?
Mhm.
And I would
Yes.
guarantee if we looked back at our texts and our, whatever, I bet that was in June or July. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I have to get out of here. I was in the exact same boat, but just for a very different reason, because burnout came hard during COVID
Yeah.
for so many people in
Yeah.
the restaurant industry. Ugh,
Yeah.
it's too much.
We
Okay.
we had it a little bit differently than you, Joy. You were in the stores figuring out how to work with these new systems and all the things. We weren't even working with DoorDash or Postmates or any of those companies because Texas Roadhouse didn't and still does not subscribe to that mentality. We were making order forms with Google Forms
So many order forms with Google
individually
Forms.
for
Yeah.
every single store and every single promotion, and then sending them links, and then realizing, I've made 74 of these today and I screwed one up and now I have to redo it and send it back, and conference calls every hour with several different groups of people. Like, it was just a hot
Yeah.
mess. I
Figuring
think I
out how to
actually
sell
burned
raw
out
steaks.
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I burned out faster sitting on my bed with my laptop
Yeah.
working from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. than I did traveling and in the restaurant. That actually was a lot more stressful for me than being in the daily grind of the action of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. But Joy, you were also, besides teaching them, you were coming up with those
Yeah.
processes, whatever they were going to be. Right. But
Right.
we were on conference calls trying to help figure out what those processes were going to be. And they changed 4 times a day. Like, I can't even imagine,
Ugh.
like,
Literally.
it just, yeah, it was so crazy to like go back to that time. I am so glad that you had the option, that you guys had the savings, and that, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it was
Yeah.
that allowed you to not work for a while, because
Yeah.
it is so freeing to say, I quit, you know?
And that's the thing is I was in I'm very fortunate for the situation that I was
Mhm.
in to be able to just have no backup, have no anything. And I understand that is not the norm, like whatever. But also, I mean, all I did was work. So what am I doing with my money?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but
But
even people who don't have that option, it's like, it might be okay to go into a little bit of debt, because what we've learned through this podcast is that burnout is a mental, what did Lauren Davis call that? It's a mental health issue. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
oh, for
it's
sure.
not it's not just something that you can take a week off and be fine. It's like, it
No.
is your health. So you need
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
care of it, even if you have to go $20,000 into debt to take your time to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Well, and I
And you kind of have
think
to nurse it back, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not a
I
quit
mean,
your
it's like
job,
any
quick
other
fix.
injury. Like if you
Mhm.
broke your leg and needed surgery,
Yep.
you would take that time and you would obviously have
Heal.
doctor bills and whatever it took to
Mhm.
get surgery or nurse your leg back to health. And I think
Hmm.
not to go down a mental health hole, but
Mhm. I
people
mean,
don't look at that and realize that like your mental health is as important as your physical health. And
Well, you
yes.
I
can't
think
see
through
it.
all of this, I've learned so much about
Mhm.
that in general.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you can't see it, it's easy to minimize in other people.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
"You're fine. Get out of it's fine." Well, it's
Yeah.
it's not fine when you're on the inside. And when where I felt like I did it was like I was telling myself that I was fine. Everything is fine. There's nothing wrong. You're fine. Just keep going. And it's like, well, if you can't even admit that there's something wrong, other people definitely don't notice and can't
Right.
help,
Yep.
you know?
Well, and I think too, especially like our age and our parents' generation, like mental health wasn't a thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
they didn't look at
Not
this. And so I
recognized
feel
at
like
It
all.
was very
we're the one
woo-woo. Yeah.
right. We're the ones now starting to recognize it. And now
Mm.
this next generation, like people are just so much more aware of it. Like I feel like
Yeah.
even if you would talk to my parents now, they'd be like, what? No,
Yeah.
nobody, everybody's fine, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, maybe
Yeah.
not, but
Yeah.
okay.
You're incorrect,
So,
but keep looking at it that way, boomers.
right. Right.
Yep.
No, I love that. Okay, so we would love to hear about how long exactly were you off and trying to figure out your next move before you got your current job?
So I was off 10 months now,
Oh, good.
actually trying to figure out my next move. So I think my last day was like, so I lost my mind in June. I think my last day was like July 1st or 2nd or 3rd or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Before the fireworks. Good job, girl.
That was the plan. I was like, I have to put it in now because I'm not missing another 4th of July.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but I didn't really start even looking for a job until December, January, like I was just taking my time. Like
Yeah. I love that.
I just kind of needed time. I didn't have the mental capacity to like care or like I just needed to have nothing. I needed to
Hmm.
have
Yeah.
no I mean, I cleaned my house, I cleaned closets, I read so many books.
Hmm.
I just hung out. I just did
Hmm.
nothing, got to enjoy a little. I hate to say enjoy, but got to enjoy a little bit of that like COVID shutdown and lockdown and not being able to. I loved it. And I know
Hmm.
that so many people struggle through that, but
Yeah,
I
but
got a
there were some
dog and
positives. Yeah, there
Hmm.
really were
yeah,
some positives out of that time. There was a lot of loss and a lot of really heavy things, but when I look back, just like you, Joy, I have to remember the good that came out of that because
yes.
the people
Yeah.
that we did spend time with, the relationships that were cultivated, you know, at home in your living room rather than
Hmm.
being out in the hustle and the bustle, the cream rises to the top when you cut out all the crap, you know?
Right,
Hmm.
right. And I
Yeah.
mean, for people like us, I mean, just having the time to just stop and be present and
Mhm.
actually
Hmm.
make plans and actually talk to your friends and,
Hmm. Yeah.
like that to me was such a great time. So I took 10 months, but well, before I started my next job.
Hmm.
I think where it was kind of decided between Dan and I that I needed to get a job is um, so I love pickles, but I'm very particular about this is going somewhere. I'm very
Okay.
particular about pickles. And so my favorite pickles are the Clausen pickles
Oh, the ones
in
that
the
are already refrigerated?
yes.
Mhm.
And
I don't even like
I
pickles, those are good.
love pickles and I love the like specifically those. Like I buy
Mhm.
no other ones. People are always like, try this. Anyway, so during COVID, all of a sudden they were gone. Like other things were. And I was like, where are these pickles? And so it's like, I'm telling like my mom and my sister and my brother, like, hey, if you see these pickles, please grab them. And it's the same thing for them. They're like, we can't find this in our grocery stores. If you see
Yeah.
it, please grab whatever. And so nobody could find these pickles. And I was like, what is going on? And I would just talk to Dan about it and be like, nobody can find these pickles. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask so and so if they'll look for these. And it was going and going. And then finally I said to Dan one day, I said, I'm going to call the news because I was reaching out to Clausen on social media and Facebook. And I was like, where are your pickles? And they would send me a link to my grocery store. And I'm like, they're not there. And so I was like, Dan, I'm calling the news. Like, five on your
Joy.
side is get it. And Dan looked at me and he said, maybe you should start looking for a job. Like,
Yeah.
like
You
you're
have
getting
Too much
all the
time on
news?
your hands.
like, I was ready to email five on your side, like, yo,
You
the
need to come
pickles are
interview me because I
gone.
have some things to say about pickles.
Yes, and I was like, Clausen won't say anything to me. I've reached out to them so many times on all the social medias. I've
So good.
emailed their service at like all of this stuff. And he was like, so, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess,
I have officially run out of things to do besides search for pickles.
Joy,
Man.
as
yeah.
much as I love you, I hope you never win the lottery because I do occasionally watch the news and I would like to watch something besides the great
Listen,
pickle
If I win the
I bet
lottery,
disappearance.
that
I'll
there are
buy
people.
Clausen and make all the pickles I want.
Okay, fine. Go win the lottery.
I guarantee that there were other people who would have benefited from your excursion into pickles. But when did they come back? I have to know. When did they come back?
I don't even remember
She just
really,
stopped
which
looking for them.
kind of.
Got
I
a
just was
job.
like, this is the worst, I think that my mom was able to find some and brought some whenever she came to visit, like a couple
Hmm.
jars so that like and it's not like I'm just
Hmm.
sitting here eating pickles either, so I don't know why that became such a necessary thing. Like I
Well, no,
randomly
You
put
you
have
them
to
on a
needed
free them.
sandwich.
purpose. Yeah, you
You
needed
had the
purpose
freedom
again.
to
Yeah.
obsess about something that was
Right.
intriguing, and when you are able to step out of the crazy, like, even putting a puzzle together, like, you
Yeah.
obsess over things because you have
Yeah.
the brain power to do so.
Right.
Mm,
So I would say probably in January of 2021, I started really like working on my resume. And I feel like this, I think I kind of put in like the questions and answers about like, or did I? Anyway, um, my resume. So I started looking at my resume and I was like, my God, like, how does this translate to something completely different? You
mhm,
know?
Yeah.
So it was like really digging into what I did in the day to day and what I knew and what I learned and putting that down on paper to show my worth not rather than just, I hate to say than just
mhm,
like a server, bartender, or restaurant,
Right.
because
mhm.
really what we learn in that industry is crazy. You learn
And
Oh, yeah.
so helpful in so
Mhm,
many other fields.
so many things.
mhm.
I mean, besides just like financial aspects, like I'm sure you guys all know, like, P&Ls and budgeting and all of these
Yep.
different things, like just what it teaches you as a person about yourself, the way that you're able to multitask, the way you're able to put things in order from most important to least important to all of these different
Yep.
things. And
Mhm,
also like how to sink or swim.
Collaboration and how
mhm,
you
Yes.
lead, and
And,
there's
like,
so
the
many.
amount of different people that you meet and work with in one restaurant is crazy,
mhm,
from all different walks of life, all different ages, all different,
mhm,
everybody. Like, you
mhm,
learned all these different things, but so it became like, how do I put this down on paper?
mhm,
Which, you know, I had to, like, Google search and got help with, and, my husband is very good at that kind of thing, so it's like taking all those things and putting it down on paper.
mhm,
So once I finally got my resume together, I started thinking like, okay, what did I do and how does this translate into something not, because I was like, not hospitality,
yeah.
not, none of that.
Mhm,
I think also to my mindset, I knew I was like, okay, I'm starting kind of over. So it's like, I have to really think about what I can now live off of because I knew my salary wasn't going to be close to the same as what it was going to be, and I was
mhm,
like, that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, I can really budget and
mhm,
like think about what it really needs to be. So after I got my resume together, I started putting it out there and going on different interviews and stuff. And I think what's really interesting, what I ran into at first, I had a couple people, I would have multiple interviews with companies like two, three, whatever interviews. Like, and I was like, oh, this is going really well. And something that I kept hearing from a couple of different people was, what you're coming from. You were so busy and you were so whatever that it was kind of like, do you understand how to sit still? Or do you understand how to sit at a desk? And I'm
mhm.
like, I'm not three,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
would be
but
like,
it's kinda
yeah,
like saying you're overqualified. They're like, "Can you do this?" Because it's not gonna be the challenge that you
the
have
hustle and
always
Yes.
bustle.
yeah, mhm,
Yeah. So, the way I got into contemporary productions, actually, I was just sitting and I was on Indeed and I was just flipping out resumes left and right, like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Just putting them out
mhm,
there. Then found Contemporary, and they are a massive entertainment company. And I was
mhm,
like, well, this is interesting because it's close to what I come from, but also very different.
Yep.
mhm,
And there's so many different positions there. And, we have like project managers and event planners and things like that. But I was like, I know getting back into that's going to be very similar from what I'm trying to get away from,
mhm,
Yeah.
you know? So whenever they had the admin position open, I was like, I can totally do that.
mhm,
So went, had my interview, did well, did great. And I think one of the biggest things that I did is I was very upfront immediately saying, I will not work nights and weekends. I will not this. I am looking for stable. I want to know when my holidays are. I want to know when my time off is. When I close my computer, I want to close my computer, like things like
mhm,
this. Like I don't
yep,
want to call at 3 a.m. I don't want I and they were like, okay, So I think after coming from the craziness of it, I think the boundaries are the biggest thing that I set and I don't really waver. So
Yeah.
with my job now, there are some nights and weekends. But the thing is they are planned so well in advance. Like I know when this event is that I may have to work with my boss or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or, sometimes our project managers need like a couple hands at an event and they ask me about it in May for an event in October.
Yeah.
You can
You're not
plan your
Absolutely. I
life
scared
can
to make
around it.
plans this weekend. Yeah.
That's right. Or I'm also not scared to be like, sorry, I can't because I know I'm going out of town then. Or, when
Mhm.
previously it would be like, well, I guess I'll cancel that because now I can't go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that the boundaries that I set for my life were the most important. And I still stick to them now. Like, so now being the executive assistant, I'm the assistant of the president of the company. And
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but like I have him trained. Like if he calls me on a Saturday, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Or like if he texts me, he'll be like, not for this weekend, but just so I don't forget, you don't have to
Yeah.
respond. Like he
Mhm.
really respects the boundaries that I've set
Mhm.
with work because I feel like, especially with like an executive assistant or those lines, those it gets blurry because I do so much for him and for his family and for personal things and for work things that
Mhm.
if you let them, they'll just keep
It would
asking
be
because that's what they're used
24/7.
to.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I love that, and I love, some of the stories that you've told me about your boss because he is quite the character, it sounds,
Yes.
but I knew that you'd be able to train him and have him figure out how to work with you. That's amazing.
I think that one of the biggest things with him that was the hardest is, but also again, what you learn in the service industry is anticipating him. It's
Mhm.
the same thing when you're waiting tables or serving or anything else
Mhm.
is you need to anticipate somebody's needs to give them a great experience. So I
Mhm.
Yeah.
think that was the hardest part about my job when I first started was I couldn't anticipate his needs because I don't know him, nor
Mhm.
do I
Yeah.
know anybody that he's talking about. I don't know any of
Yeah.
his friends, and he would just talk to me as if I knew. So the shoes I was filling, his previous assistant had worked for him for almost 30 years or over 30 years.
Oh, wow. So she
So
had it
he would
figured
just,
out.
yeah, and he would just talk to me as if I knew what was happening. And I was like, you are speaking German, Japanese,
Yeah.
China, like I don't know
Yeah.
any names, anything. But I
Mhm.
feel like once I kind of got past that hump and really started like knowing him and his ways and the things that he wanted or expected, like, I mean, it's pretty smooth sailing. Like he and I
Yeah.
get along really well, like have a good relationship. And
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, he can be difficult, but now I feel like when he's difficult, it's still easy. Cause like in the
Yeah, it's
restaurant
just a
industry, how many
relationship. Mhm.
right.
Yep.
And it's actually a weird relationship to forge because it's not like a best friend or a romantic relationship, but yet you're
Mhm.
still expected to know everything about them.
Right,
Like
but
their
it's still
ends it
so close that
Mhm.
yes.
it's on
So
that
it's
level, but very different.
but
Mhm.
also it's like they don't care to I mean, not care, but like
It's one
you're
way.
really getting
Yeah.
right. You're
Yeah.
getting to know them. And I mean, yes, he has gotten to know me, but like that's not the goal to get to know each other.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
for me to know him.
Yeah, and everybody that he knows. It's interesting
Yeah.
because I said that it's just a relationship, but you have to figure out how to communicate with everybody, you know what I mean? Like anybody that you work with, but especially
Yeah.
when you're an assistant to
Yeah.
somebody who you're running their life. Like
Right.
Like literally their whole life. Because at that
Right.
level, you already said it, Joy, but it's not just professional. Their families
Mhm.
come into play. Like
Right.
I'm sure you probably picked up dry cleaning a few times, like things like that.
Mhm.
You've got to really dig in all aspects of life.
Right. And
Mhm.
I mean, they're kids and
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
so,
Yeah,
but
it's
Well,
so interesting.
I have a question for you. Looking back, I'm sure that you really appreciate the 10 months that you had to like decompress and really figure things out and,
mhm.
get to the place where pickles could be the biggest problem in your life. But as you look back, is there anything that you wish that you'd done differently in whether it's during that time or finding something new? Is there something that you think that could have made things easier or better faster?
No,
Yeah.
really. I mean, I think that I needed that time. I really do. Like, if I could go back and redo it, I may have quit sooner.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's the only
Mhm.
thing I would do too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just do
it's
it
like,
faster.
I wish I would have recognized earlier, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's the only thing. Like, no, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have went and found a job soon. Like, I
Yeah.
really needed that time to like clear myself. Like, I
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
purge yourself or something. I don't know how to explain it, but like,
Yeah, no,
Well, you have to find yourself again, who you are
yeah.
outside of this
mhm,
identity that is wrapped up, 14 hours of your day every single day.
right,
Mhm.
right.
I
Well,
agree.
I
I've
love
thought
hearing your story. I relate a lot to it. And, all of us coming from the service industry, you know, it's the same story with different language, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm excited about your journey now and definitely very happy to see that you're thriving in a position that is working better for you.
Yes, so much for sure.
So, we've talked about your, you know, that what happened during your time off and what you needed for that, and why you left, and what you've been doing since then, and that the only thing that you would change is quitting sooner. But if you could go back to with the information that you have now, if you could go back to high school graduation, would you do the exact same path or would you skip to this part sooner or would like what would you do?
So, yeah, whenever I was looking at that question, I was thinking, I was like, would I or would I think what I would have skipped is whenever I graduated high school, like starting to take like college classes and whatnot, going to our community college,
Mhm.
I probably would have skipped that. I mean,
Me
I felt
too.
like it was a waste of my time and money.
Mhm.
And I ended up going to cosmetology school. I feel like that is probably what I would have done differently, like, knowing what we know now about the beauty industry. I think whenever I went to cosmetology school and, I went to be an esthetician and finished, I think though that whenever I finished back then, skincare isn't what it is now. People
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care, and so it's like, if I had the information now and went back, I would have stayed with that,
Yeah.
because I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of freedom in that as well,
Mhm. Yeah.
a lot of freedom in that job and whatever as well. So I feel like I would have probably stayed with that, but I mean, other than that, I mean, maybe little changes here and there, but I also think that the path that I took or whatever also made me who I am and
Yeah.
brought me to
Mhm.
where I am and those sorts of things. So I don't think, I would change a lot. And I'm somebody who likes to make a decision and I make it and I'm like, that's a decision and we're done and we're moving. So I'm not somebody who
Yeah.
really like looks back with a lot of regrets. I mean, sure, everybody
Mhm.
has regrets and whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm not somebody who really, like, focuses on shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, this is what we're doing, so let's make the next decision to keep going forward," I feel like.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
So
and
So
everything that you went through, I say went through like it's all bad, but
mm,
all of your
yeah.
life experiences, professional, personal, all the things lead you to who you are now and where you are now. And you would probably do your job now very differently if you had bypassed those experiences. So
sure.
I find it
Mhm.
hard to look back and regret the things that made me.
Well, and I
Mhm.
think too, the biggest thing that I look back on, and I mean, my friendship with Mandy is
Mhm.
case in point, is
Mhm.
whenever you're going through the trenches with somebody or now trauma bonding with somebody,
Mhm. Yeah.
like, they become lifelong friends. Like, some of
Mhm.
my best friends are all from these service jobs that I worked along the way I
Same.
mean, that's how I met my husband. Like, it's
Mhm.
these jobs that you work along the way that, like, Mandy was saying previously is she's like, I mean, Mandy, we have been friends since Dan and I first started dating because I think you were one of the only people that I told,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
And we were 20 years old. Yeah.
that's almost 23 years ago now. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and again,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, there's been times where it's like we don't talk, but we always pick right back up where we
Mhm.
left off. And it's like, I have other friends like that as well that I've made through the service industry that it's like,
Yeah.
these are lifers,
Mhm.
Yep.
it's like, these aren't something I would change
For
for any,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
these are
Yep.
lifelong friend. I mean,
Mhm.
23 years of a friendship, like that's a
Mhm.
really long time.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
I
It
do find
is.
it interesting that hard times and difficult situations can forge the strongest relationships because
Mhm.
Mhm. Yep.
it provides the opportunity for connection in ways that simplicity and like easy doesn't do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
It's
it
I
makes a
mean,
huge difference.
I think it's one of those things of like you really learn in the service industry is no man left behind, basically.
Yep.
Like you don't
Mhm.
leave somebody in the weeds. You don't
Mhm.
whatever. And
And it
so,
doesn't matter if you like them or not. Go pick them up.
Mhm. Mhm.
right. And I feel like I still do that to this day in my office. Like when I first started working at my office job or whatever, I can
Mhm.
remember like the first couple of weeks being like, this is so weird. Nobody's like waiting to walk out with me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you would never be like,
Mhm.
"Bye, you're leaving by yourself." Like, no, like, if Mandy was doing head wait, I would sit and wait and to make sure somebody was walking or is somebody walking out with her. And so
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can remember being like, "This is so weird." Like, you're
Yeah,
not
it's every man for themselves there.
Yeah, you're
yeah,
letting me
yeah.
walk to my car alone?
But
Mhm.
I think that that's something that I have taken with me along the way that I do that even still in my office. Like, is there
Mhm.
something I can help you with? There's been times where I do stay late because somebody needs some extra help with something. And sometimes I have the answers because of my position with my
Mhm.
boss. Like, I
Yeah.
have these contacts, I have this information. And it's like, yes, I'm staying late to help them. But again, it's no man left behind.
But it's
Mhm.
also because you want to, not because
Mhm.
you have to.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that
Yep,
changes things.
It
it
really
does. It
does.
makes a difference.
Right.
Well, the reason that I asked you if you went back, if you would do it the exact same way, obviously, I I have thought a lot. Like I didn't go away to college because I stayed
Hmm.
for a boy and he was a fucking loser. And that is,
I hope he's
like
listening.
he would never. But it's just it's so dumb, like that's so dumb. But I'm so glad that I did that because then I started working at Roadhouse and then I
Hmm.
met all of the wonderful people and then I met my ex and then I moved to all of these different places that all led to the position that I got that I loved. It all led to something. Without that experience, I could not have my business, right? But
Hmm.
whenever I
Mhm.
look back, I'm going, I'm not trying to change um the
Like the
whole
outcome. Yeah.
right at all. Like I want my life to have happened exactly how it happened. Like every single thing taught me something.
Hmm.
However, we have teenagers to live in my house, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do when they grow up. They're 16 and 17, like they're almost grown
Mhm.
up. And and they either have an idea or they're like, I don't know, I'll figure it out after college. And it's like, that didn't work for me. I spun my wheels in school because you really have to know what you're gonna do, or don't go and do that, in my opinion. But
Hmm.
it's like, what do you want your life to look like? Because now I
Hmm.
know what I want my life to look like. I want to travel at least 1 week a month. I want to be there for every single swim meet. I want to, like I have my priorities and I want to be able to work from anywhere. No one ever asked me that. No one ever asked me what I wanted my life to look like. They were like, "What do you wanna do? How do you wanna make money?" And it's
Yep.
like, I don't know. I didn't
Well,
know
but
what I would be
the other
passionate about.
the other thing though that I think is also it's kind of wild to ask a 16 or 17-year-old that.
Yes. I'm dealing with that.
Because
And
nobody ever
she's
asked me
like,
that either, Mandy, but like I don't know.
yeah.
I
Mhm,
feel like the select few kids that actually do know like they're like I want to be this, I want to do that like but I don't think that that's the norm and I think that it's
mhm,
just like well the next thing you do is go to college, but I think that's kind of why I floundered or whatever as
yeah,
well in college because it's like I
mhm,
have no goal and this is
Right. I just
annoying
did
and
what I thought I had to do.
mhm,
yeah, and so it was just like this is not, so I don't know. I think that we are seeing a bit of a shift in people just going straight to college after school and kids are starting to not find the value in that and I think that employers are starting to see as well like you don't necessarily need a college education to
Yeah.
do a lot of things like some
yeah,
things yes for sure you do
Yeah.
but you
yes.
know
Yeah.
There's so
I
many
just
things that
Yeah, I just always wonder with people, like, what they would have done because the 3 of us
Mhm.
all had a similar path, right?
Mhm.
And I know how me and Mandy feel about, what we would do or not do, but it's just so interesting to me to know if people would have been like, if it wouldn't change my husband, my
Yeah.
kids,
Mhm.
whatever, and I would still have all the same friends, then yeah, I would have just started a business at 20 years old and struggled through it until it was successful and skipped all of the bullshit.
Yeah. But
Right.
I
all of the
I
bullshit
just
is
wonder.
what taught you all
That's
the
right.
things that you needed to know to be
Mhm.
where you are now.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked my 3-year-old niece at Christmas what she wanted to be when she grew up. And I remember asking my kids that, and it would be like, I want to work at Taco Bell, or I want to be a teacher, or what. They always had something outrageous. And Juniper looked at me and she goes, a bigger human? And I was like, goals, girl, you're going to hit that
Yeah.
Yeah.
one. And it made me think of, this conversation, right? Like walking Paisley through, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, I don't, how am I supposed to know that? And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know, but here's the deal. You're going to change your mind 15 times before you get there. And then wherever you end up, you're going to be like, wow, I don't know how that
Mhm.
happened. Didn't see
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
coming. So, like,
Yeah.
don't overthink it. My
Mhm.
best advice is like, don't make it up. Just
Mhm.
pick a path. And when things shift with it because
Yeah.
Yep.
there's no way to predict what that's going to
Mhm.
look like.
Yep.
And whatever path
I
you take to
agree.
get there will teach you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, this was an awesome conversation. I am so glad that we had it. I want people to feel um at ease when we had a conversation a couple weeks ago about, are you burned out or are you just done? And it sounds like you were burned out and then you were just done. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing that could change that would make this better.
No.
And I want people who are to the burnout stage to be thinking about this, but the just done stage, I want them to be thinking about, can I take a little bit of time,
Yeah.
Mhm.
do we have the money to afford me that
Mhm.
time? And then what do I want to do that more aligns, because there are so many smaller businesses that you can work for that are not these large corporations that
Mhm.
will abide by your boundaries. They will allow you to have them.
Yeah.
And
I think that the setting the boundaries is, you know, I think a lot of businesses in general, large, small, will respect those boundaries. I think
If you
that,
hold them.
like all humans,
Mhm.
people will take until you tell them no.
Yep.
So, really setting them from the get go, I think, is very normal. And I think coming from what we've all come from, we're so used to never saying the word no that that's
Mhm.
where gets tricky for us. Like, you're
Mhm.
literally taught, don't say no. Like, never, no, we can't. No,
We
it's
were
like,
actually told the answer is yes. What's the question?
that's right.
Yes, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the thing is really setting the boundaries is not shocking to people. And I think it's just being understanding that you're allowed to do that.
Mhm.
Like
And then
you're
being
allowed to
strong
say,
enough to continue to uphold
that's
them.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Right.
that's where the people pleasers like us get all
I
screwed
mean,
up.
I do it all the time now. Like there'll be problems or something going on at work. And I'm like, whoa, whose problem is that? I mean, not that I won't help, but I don't
Mhm.
just absorb
Yeah.
thing. It's like
Mhm.
I'm willing to help, but I'm not willing to that's
Yeah. I'm
mine
not going
now.
to take
That's
that
mine now.
on.
That
Yeah.
like right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. So cool. Well,
Well,
thank you
this
for the
is really
lessons.
good.
Yeah. Thank you for the lessons that you put out there today. I hope that some people will take this as permission to take the time if they need it and to figure out what's
Yeah.
next in a way that works for them, and not just the quick what's just a little bit better than what I'm going through right now. So
Right.
I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you, Joy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, we'll have to talk again soon.
For sure.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.